Imagine waking up on payday, checking your banking app, and realizing the money is already spoken for. Rent, car payment, insurance, groceries, phone bill, minimum payments. 3 small subscriptions you forgot were still alive. For most people, being broke is not one dramatic mistake. It is quieter than that. It happens in pieces. $9 here, $27 there. A higher utility bill, a delivery fee, a credit card balance that does not look dangerous until the interest starts breathing. And here is the disturbing part. The modern paycheck is built to disappear before you ever feel rich. Employers pay you in chunks. Landlords charge you in chunks. Lenders charge you every month. Apps charge you in amounts too small to trigger panic. Same income, opposite results, depending on who gets access first. The Federal Reserve has reported for years that a large share of American adults would struggle to cover a small emergency without borrowing or selling something. Not a yacht, not a vacation, a few $100s. That means one flat tire, one medical bill. One missed shift can turn a normal month into a debt month. So the problem is not just that people spend too much. That is the easy explanation. The deeper mechanism is timing. Your bills arrive with military discipline. Your income arrives with hope. And hope loses when automatic payments, compound interest, and rising prices hit first. Now look at a normal morning. Coffee on the way to work. Lunch because you were too tired to pack one. Gas. A quick online order, none of it feels like collapse. But what happened next is the part most people miss. Those tiny decisions meet fixed expenses. Then they meet interest. Then they meet the next paycheck before you do. This is not comfort. This is financial survival. And the terrifying part is the system works best when you do not look closely. Once you see where your money is being claimed, you cannot unsee it. And this is where ordinary spending becomes visible, not to predators in the dark, but to systems built to study your weakness. Your grocery run, your gas refill, your rent payment, your phone bill, your missed due date by 2 days. Every swipe leaves a signal, and those signals decide what you are offered next. A higher interest rate, a smaller credit limit, a late fee, a special financing plan that looks gentle at checkout, but turns one purchase into 4 separate withdrawals from a paycheck that has not even arrived yet. And here is the disturbing part. The danger usually does not look dramatic. It looks normal. A family gets paid on Friday. Rent clears on Saturday. Car insurance hits on Monday. A subscription renews on Tuesday. Groceries cost more than expected. Then the utility bill arrives. Nothing unusual happened. No emergency, no luxury binge, just regular life moving in the wrong order. So the account drops near zero. Then the real mechanism starts. Banks do not only make money when people have money. Some of the most expensive moments happen when people are short by $20, not $20,000. An overdraft fee, a returned payment fee, a credit card balance, carried one more month, a buy now, pay later charge, hitting the same week as rent, same paycheck, opposite results. For someone with a cushion, a bill is just a bill. For someone without one, a bill becomes a trapdoor. The Federal Reserve has reported for years that a large share of American adults would struggle to handle a $400 emergency without borrowing, selling something, or rearranging other payments. That number is not about laziness. It is about timing. Cash arrives in chunks. Expenses arrive like weather. Random, repeating, sometimes all at once. Now look at the credit card statement. The minimum payment feels like safety. It keeps the account alive. It keeps the phone calls away. It keeps the score from bleeding today. But what happened next is the quiet part most people miss. Interest keeps working overnight. It does not sleep. At rates above 20%. A balance does not just sit there, it grows. Slowly at first, then visibly, then personally. A $300 repair becomes a $500 problem. A holiday purchase becomes a spring balance. A medical copay becomes a year-long payment plan. The original event ends, the bill keeps breathing. And it is not just debt. Prices now move around people. Apps know when you order. Stores know what you buy. Lenders know where you live. Insurers know your zip code. Employers know your paycheck schedule. The modern consumer is not walking through a neutral marketplace. They are walking through a pricing environment that reacts to them. That is why 2 people can buy the same life and get 2 different outcomes. One person pays annually and gets a discount. Another pays monthly and pays more. One person has cash and avoids interest. Another finances the same item and pays twice. One person keeps $1,000 in reserve and calls it boring. Another lacks that 1,000 and enters a chain reaction, same recognition, opposite results. This is the part of personal finance most people never think about. Survival is not only about earning more, it is about not being forced to make expensive decisions at the worst possible moment, because the most dangerous financial events are often small. One missed payment and the fee appears. One low balance week and the overdraft hits. One emergency car repair and the credit card becomes the backup plan. 1 month of "I'll catch up later" and the next paycheck is already spent before it lands. Every payday feels like a sunrise, but for many households, that sunrise was earned, not guaranteed, and the system knows it. Somehow, people adapted, but here is what makes this money story insane. Most households were not built to survive the modern cost of living. Not like this. Not with rent rising, insurance repricing, food shrinking, subscriptions hiding in the background, and credit cards waiting quietly at 24% interest. The paycheck arrives. It looks alive for a few hours. Then rent takes its share, the car payment hits, gas hits, groceries hit, phone bill, internet, insurance, minimum payments. A streaming service nobody watched this month. A delivery app charge from one tired night. By Sunday, the account is thin again. And the disturbing part is this. A lot of people think the problem is that they are careless. Sometimes they are, but often the real problem is mechanical. Money is leaking faster than the person can feel it. The human brain was not designed for 30 invisible withdrawals across 4 banking apps. It was not designed to track annual fees, variable interest, dynamic pricing, installment plans, and free trials. That become permanent rent-seeking machines. We are basically paycheck creatures living inside a financial system built by algorithms. Weak attention, thin margins, terrible night vision. Everything about this setup says the average worker should fall behind before they even understand why. But instead, some people begin to survive it, not because they suddenly become rich, not because they discover a secret stock. They survive because they learn how to trap cash. That changes everything. Cash trapping is not glamorous. It does not look like a luxury apartment tour. It looks boring from the outside, but it is one of the first real money technologies a normal person can use. One account becomes the income door, another becomes the bills bunker, another becomes the emergency reserve. The money stops sitting in one open pile, waiting to be eaten. It gets separated before emotion can touch it. This is the counterintuitive part. Stronger households save first and force the rest of the month to negotiate. With what remains, same paycheck, opposite results. Behavioral researchers have studied this for years. Automatic saving works because it removes the moment of decision. The moment of decision is where most budgets die. When money is moved on payday, before the restaurant invite, before the sale notification, before the panic purchase. The household is no longer relying on willpower. It is relying on structure. So, the first layer is insulation. Automatic transfers become financial insulation. A high-yield savings account becomes a warmer place for idle cash. A sinking fund for insurance, taxes, repairs, and holidays turns future shocks into scheduled events. A weekly grocery cap blocks the cold wind of impulse spending. A 24-hour rule on non-essential purchases slows the body down before the money leaves. None of this looks impressive. That is the point. Primitive shelter was not impressive either, but it kept the wind out. Now, look at the paycheck again. A person earns $4,200 a month after taxes. Rent is $1,550. Car and insurance are $620. Food is $650. Utilities and phone are $310. Debt minimums are $420. Subscriptions, gas, and small spending take another $500. On paper, there is still money. In real life, there is almost none. So the person thinks, I need to earn more. Maybe they do. But what happened next is where the mechanism becomes clear. If they add $500 of income and change nothing, the system absorbs it. More takeout, better phone, bigger weekend, faster debt payments for 2 months. Then fatigue. The new money warms the room for a second, then disappears through the same cracks. More heat does not matter if the shelter is open. That is why the order matters. First, trap cash, then increase income, then attack debt, then invest. When the order is reversed, people confuse motion with progress. They buy stocks while paying 26% interest. They chase side hustles while overdraft fees hit. They open 5 investment apps, but do not know when their insurance premium is due. They are standing in a financial snowstorm, holding a tiny flame. And it is not just theory. The Federal Reserve has repeatedly found that a large share of adults would struggle to cover a sudden $400 emergency without borrowing, selling something, or rearranging bills. Payroll data and consumer surveys keep showing the same pattern. Many workers are not broke once. They are broke on a schedule. That schedule has a rhythm. Paid on Friday, comfortable on Saturday, confident on Monday, careful by Wednesday, anxious by the next week. Then the next paycheck arrives, and the body relaxes. A campfire feeling. For a moment, everything seems right. But luxury cannot compete with the feeling of safety. Not real safety. Real safety is knowing the car repair is annoying, not fatal. Real safety is a bill arriving and not changing your breathing. Real safety is having enough cash stored that you can think clearly when something goes wrong. And here is the darker exception. Once a household creates warmth, predators notice. Not wolves, lenders, apps, retailers, banks, platforms. They all know where the warm money is. A higher credit limit appears right after your income improves. Buy now, pay later buttons sit beside every checkout. Car dealers stretch loans to make the monthly payment feel harmless. Subscription companies make cancellation harder than sign-up. Banks charge fees to the people with the thinnest cushions. Ads follow the person who just searched for raise, or new job, or best savings account. A warm financial shelter, glowing in the dark, becomes a signal. This is why income alone does not save people. Recognition does. The moment a person recognizes the system, the same world produces different results. Same prices, same paycheck, same pressure, opposite decisions. They stop treating every deposit like permission. They stop treating every discount like a win. They stop letting small monthly payments hide the total cost. They stop confusing approval with affordability. And slowly, the household changes shape. The first $500 emergency fund is a heated stone wrapped in fur. Small, almost laughable, but powerful at 2 a.m. when something breaks. The first paid-off credit card is a wall against the wind. The first month ahead on bills is shelter. The first automatic investment is fire carried forward. This is not financial perfection. This is survival intelligence. No inherited fortune, no private banker, no magic. Just ordinary people learning that money must be protected before it can grow. Every payday sunrise is earned, not guaranteed. And once that becomes clear, the question changes. It is no longer, why am I always behind? It becomes, where is the heat escaping? Now, look at the ordinary paycheck. It lands on Friday morning. The number looks clean. Rent is not due for 3 days. The phone bill is quiet. The credit card app shows a balance, but not a crisis. So lunch feels harmless. A ride home feels normal. A streaming renewal passes in the background. $10 here, $17 there, $39 overnight. But what happened next is the part most people miss. The money did not disappear because one purchase was dramatic. It disappeared because the system is built to make small decisions. Feel emotionally painless, while the large cost arrives later. Same recognition, opposite results. You recognize a $6 coffee as small. The bank recognizes repeated behavior as predictable cash flow. The credit card company recognizes minimum payments as future interest. The subscription company recognizes forgetfulness as revenue. And here is the disturbing part. For a lot of households, the danger is not poverty in one moment. It is the gap between income timing and bill timing. Payday comes once or twice a month. Spending opportunities come every hour. Rent, insurance, utilities, childcare, groceries, gas, debt payments. And random repairs do not arrive politely in a straight line. They stack. They hit on different days. They create pressure before you even notice the pressure. Researchers have seen this pattern for years. Many people do not have enough emergency savings to handle a sudden $400 expense without borrowing, selling something, or delaying another bill. That is not because every person is reckless. It is because modern cash flow has become fragile. Prices rise faster than habits change. Wages arrive after the labor is already spent. Credit fills the gap, then charges rent on the gap. So, a normal month can become a trap. A tire blows out. The repair goes on a card. The card balance carries over. Interest starts growing. Next month, the minimum payment is higher. Groceries are still higher. Rent is still fixed. The paycheck is still the same. Nothing looks catastrophic from the outside, but inside the account, the future has already been sold in small pieces. This is why personal finance feels so unfair to ordinary people. The system does not need you to make one terrible decision. It only needs you to stop watching the tiny leaks. It only needs you to believe that comfort is free because the payment has been delayed. And it is not just bills, it is pricing. Apps know when demand rises. Stores know which items you buy without thinking. Banks know which customers overdraft near payday. Lenders know who is tired enough to accept a bad rate. Because the problem is urgent. The modern economy does not only sell products, it studies timing, it studies pressure, it studies when you are most likely to say yes. That is the mechanism. Your salary is not just income. It is a battlefield of dates. The rent date, the statement date, the due date, the renewal date, the interest date. The moment you understand that, money stops being just a number in an app. It becomes a sequence of decisions that either protect your next paycheck or quietly spend it before it arrives. Now look at the modern version of survival. It is not a cave. It is not snow. It is a bank app at 11:47 p.m. Rent is due. The credit card payment is pending. The phone bill has already hit. A grocery run that used to cost $80 now lands closer to $130. The paycheck arrived on Friday, and by Monday morning, most of it has already been claimed by companies you never spoke to. This is where money gets dangerous. Most people think financial survival is about earning more. Wrong. Income matters. But income alone is not protection. A bigger paycheck can still freeze if the structure around it is weak. The real mechanism is adaptability. How fast can a household change when prices move? Hours get cut, rates rise, or one car repair arrives at the wrong time. Same recognition. Opposite results. One person gets a raise and immediately upgrades the apartment, the car payment, the subscriptions, the weekend spending. The raise feels like heat, but what happened next is quiet. Fixed costs rise. Debt payments harden. The new lifestyle becomes a cage. Another person gets the same raise and uses it to build cash, reduce interest, and buy time. Same paycheck, same economy, opposite survival odds. And here is the disturbing part. The stronger-looking household is often the more fragile one. On paper, it looks built for winter. 2 incomes, nice car, good clothes, brunch photos, clean apartment. But under the surface, the monthly bills are dense and heavy. Rent, insurance, student loans, credit cards, buy now, pay later installments, a phone upgrade, a streaming stack, delivery fees, minimum payments. One missed paycheck and the whole body starts losing heat. Researchers have been warning about this for years. The Federal Reserve has repeatedly found that a large share of adults would struggle to cover a sudden $400 emergency without borrowing, selling something, or falling behind. JP Morgan Chase Institute research has also shown that many families deal with income and expense swings month to month, even when their annual income looks stable. That means the danger is not always poverty. Sometimes the danger is timing. Money comes in pulses, bills arrive like weather. So the real question is not, how much do you make? It is, how long can you keep the lights on? If the next deposit is late, that is why cash flow is the modern campfire. Not because it is glamorous. It is not. Nobody posts a screenshot of an emergency fund and gets applause from strangers. But cash gives heat, cash gives light, cash gives protection. It lets you say no to a predatory loan. It lets you fix the tire without putting $900 on a 29% credit card. It lets you wait 3 weeks for a better job instead of grabbing the first desperate option. Lose that fire, and the system starts hunting you. Late fees appear first, then overdraft fees, then interest, then balance transfers. Then the minimum payment becomes a permanent monthly tax. The original problem may have been small, a medical bill, a broken laptop, a slow month at work. But once you are forced to borrow for survival, the cost of being short becomes another bill. This is why ordinary spending details matter. The $7 coffee is not the villain by itself. The villain is not knowing where the heat is escaping. A subscription you forgot, a delivery habit that became automatic, a car loan stretched across 7 years, a credit card balance that never dies because the payment only covers interest. These are not dramatic moments. They are tiny holes in the shelter, and tiny holes are enough when the temperature drops. The households that last are usually not the ones with the most impressive lifestyle. They are the ones that update faster. They notice the bill before it becomes a crisis. They renegotiate insurance. They compare phone plans. They cook more when grocery prices rise. They pause upgrades. They build 1 month of expenses, then 2, then 3. They treat debt like exposure. They treat liquidity like oxygen. Survival is a must, not in a motivational way, in a mechanical way. If your money has no buffer, every surprise becomes an emergency. If every emergency becomes debt, your future paycheck is already partially owned before you earn it. That is the trap. You are still working. You are still getting paid, but the warmth is gone. Before you can feel it, a campfire still makes everything right. In modern money, that fire is not luxury. It is margin. It is cash left over after the bills. It is a simple plan that keeps 1 bad week from becoming 6 bad months. Every financial sunrise is earned, not guaranteed. The people who understand that do not just chase income, they protect the flame. And this is why a normal paycheck can still feel unsafe. Rent clears first, then the phone bill, then the car payment, then insurance, groceries, gas, school lunch, one subscription you forgot, and a credit card minimum that looks small on the screen. Nothing dramatic happens. No siren goes off, but by Friday, the money is already spoken for. Your nervous system feels it before your spreadsheet does. For most households, the danger is not one giant mistake. It is a chain of tiny obligations arriving in the wrong order. A $12 streaming charge, a $38 overdraft fee, a minimum payment that keeps the account current but barely touches the balance, a buy now pay later installment that felt harmless. When it was split into 4 pieces, each one is small enough to ignore. Together they become a wall. And here's the disturbing part. The poorest dollar in your life is usually the most expensive dollar. If you have cash, a flat tire is just a repair. If you do not, the same flat tire becomes a credit card balance. A late fee, missed work, another fee, and then interest on top of the interest. Same problem. Opposite results. Research keeps showing the same pattern. Many Americans say they would struggle to handle even a small emergency without borrowing, selling something, or delaying another bill. Credit card balances have climbed. Auto loans have stretched longer. More income is getting locked into fixed payments before people even touch food, savings, or freedom. So people adapt, they meal prep, they share apartments longer. They cancel one subscription and keep another because the kids use it. They drive across town for cheaper gas, then lose the savings and time. They move money between accounts, like they are keeping a small fire alive through the night. One missed deposit, one medical bill, one slow work week, and the whole system starts to shake. But what happened next is the part most people miss. 2 people can earn the same salary and live in completely different financial climates. One gets paid, spends first, and saves whatever survives. The other gets paid, moves money out immediately, and forces the rest of the month to live on what remains. Same income, same city, same grocery prices, opposite results. That is the mechanism. Wealth is not only about how much comes in, it is about which claims touch your paycheck first. Banks know this. Lenders know this. Subscription companies know this. They are not waiting for your leftover money. They move early. They draft automatically. They make the payment feel painless, because painless payments are the ones you stop noticing. And once you stop noticing, the system owns the calendar. This is not clean. It is not heroic. It is not a motivational poster about discipline. It is a survival structure built inside ordinary bills. The people who make it through are not always the ones with the highest income. They are often the ones who understand the order of attack. Protect cash, kill expensive debt, automate the future, and stop letting small monthly promises eat the next sunrise before it arrives. Not a bigger paycheck, not a perfect budget, not looking rich. Adaptation, creativity, cooperation. That is what lets ordinary people survive. A financial system that keeps getting colder. Rent goes up, groceries go up, insurance renews at a higher number. A small subscription quietly renews at 2 a.m. Your paycheck lands on Friday, and by Monday, most of it already has a name on it. And here's the disturbing part. Most people do not go broke from one dramatic decision. They go broke from 1,000 normal ones. A delivery order after a hard day. A car payment that felt manageable at the dealership. A credit card minimum that looked harmless. Same recognition. Opposite results. One household sees those numbers as comfort. Another sees them as heat leaving the room. The research keeps pointing to the same thing. A large share of adults would struggle to cover a sudden $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. That means the danger is not far away. It is sitting inside the next repair bill, the next medical copay, the next missed shift, the next rent increase. So the final decision is simple. Stop treating money like a mood. Treat it like a survival system. Tonight, open the bank app. Not tomorrow, tonight. Look at the last 30 days. Find the automatic charges. Find the spending that happens when you are tired. Find the payments you agreed to months ago, but are still carrying today. Then make one cut, one transfer, and one rule. Cut one recurring expense. Move a fixed amount into savings the same day you get paid, even if it is small. And make a rule that any new monthly payment has to replace an old one, not sit on top of it. It is not glamorous, but survival is not glamorous. The people who get ahead are not always the strongest earners. They are the ones who adjust faster. They share information. They ask better questions. They build a buffer before the storm arrives. They understand that warmth in money is cash you can reach before panic begins. Because the modern world looks polished. Phones, apps, credit scores, rewards points, buy now, pay later buttons. But underneath all of it, your financial life is still being tested by the oldest rule there is. If you do not protect your resources, something else will consume them. So protect them. Start with the next paycheck. Start with the next bill. Start with the next small decision that keeps money in your hands, instead of letting it disappear quietly. That is how ordinary people stop reacting and start surviving. And eventually, that is how they start winning.